Hello, my name is Samantha, and thank you for joining me for this 24 Hours of Cross Stitch Marathon weekend. I am just going to do a quick introduction to show you which projects I'm going to be working on, and then we're just going to kind of dive in. So I'm going to be focusing on getting some finishes for this marathon. So the first one, I like to switch between 3 projects for a marathon weekend. The first one is Neverland. This is on 16 count lock by Picture This Plus, and this just has a little bit of back stitching left. So I have some trees to add in here, and then I'm recharting what's here to Indigenous Village, and that's, I think, all that's left on this one. So definitely can finish that this weekend. The next one is Summer Band Sampler by Tiny Modernist. Almost done with this one. I've got like a shell and a half to finish up here, and then this is basically repeated here at the bottom. So I'm thinking I can finish this or get really close, depending on how often I work on it. The one I do want to spend most time on is a Sunday afternoon on the island of La Grande Jatte. It's based on the painting by George Seurat. This is charted by Allerton Embroidery. Almost done. So I've just got the lady with the umbrella left. I'm not expecting to finish this one this weekend, but I think I can get a good chunk of her completed, and I'm excited about that. So like I said, I like to switch between 3 projects, but since likely 2 of these at least will be finished, I'm going to switch in another one. I haven't decided which one that will be, but I'll be sure to show it before I start working on it. My stitching goal for this weekend, I'm just going to set relatively low at 12 hours. The 2 times I've done this before, I've gotten more than that, but I just want to keep it chill. That's what works for me. So I'm going to set it at 12 hours for the official goal for the weekend. And I just plan to enjoy my stitching time, maybe get some finishes. I have had a very productive January, and I feel like a lot of other people have had that too, so that's been fun to see. But let's get started, and good luck to me. So I've decided I'm going to start with Summer Band Sampler, and I didn't mention, but this is stitched on an 18 count vintage country mocha. So I'm going to grab the colors I need for this and then get started probably here at the bottom or this top corner. I don't know. Alright, these are the colors I need to finish out Summer Band Sampler. I'll show how I store my threads a little bit later, so I don't keep them with the projects like most people do. So far I am at 38 minutes, 17 seconds, and I finished the stitching at the top, but I realized there is some back stitch in some of the shells, so I'll have to grab that color and finish that out as well before getting to the bottom. This is where I'm at now. I am 4 hours and 1 minute in, so I've done a lot of stitching so far. Finished the shells and backstitch on the top, and then got the white and the orange shades in on the bottom, so I've got 3 more shells to do and the backstitching for those. But right now I'm going to take a little break and then switch projects. Alright, this one is up next. And I think I'm going to be focusing on the top half here. So sort of going back and forth between filling in the umbrella and then the top half of her dress. I'm not expecting to do too much more tonight, but this is what I'll be working on. I am at 5 hours, 37 minutes for day 1, which I'm very happy with. I got a little bit more done here, a little bit more in the umbrella. I did this arm, filled in a little bit here, and then started on the blue of her dress. Good morning, it is Saturday, day 2, and I wanted to start day 2 with a little discussion topic that's in the title of this video. I want to talk about how much money I spend on cross stitch. There are more expensive and less expensive ways of enjoying this hobby. I tend toward the less expensive ways, and honestly, it works just fine. Most people don't talk about how much money they spend on cross stitch. Some people will talk about their that they budget monthly, but generally it's not something that's talked a lot about openly in the community. And I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to share how much money I spent on cross stitch in 2022. Now so I started keeping track in April. So these numbers are April through December, not the full year, but 3/4 of the year since I started keeping track. So in total, in 2022. So in total, between April and December of last year, I spent a total of $340.65. I'm referring to my notes here. So $340.65, which was about what I thought it would be. I was guessing, like, as I was keeping track, it'd be about 300. It was 340. And I feel pretty comfortable with that. It does come to a monthly average of $37.85, which feels like more than I would want to spend. But and I didn't set a specific budget for myself. I was just like, let's see what I would normally spend, and then at the end of the year I can make decisions on how I feel about that, what I might want to change or adjust going forward. So I also kept track of the amounts I spent on floss, fabric, patterns, and finishing, which for me, finishing is just buying frames at Michaels with coupons. You can get a lot of this stuff at Michaels. They always have at least a 20% coupon. So if you're looking for ways of doing this in a less expensive way, Michaels with coupons. That's my number one tip. Okay, so on floss from April to December, I spent $71.51. For fabric, $59.06. On patterns, and this is the largest total, on patterns I spent $171.07. And on finishing, $39.01. So patterns, then I discovered, I wasn't sure, patterns, as it turns out, is where I spent most of my money. So then I asked myself, okay, well, of all those patterns that you bought in 2022, how many did you actually start? So I checked that this morning, and between April and December, I bought 23 patterns. I started 7 of them. Started last year. I've started a couple this year, but I'm talking within the year I buy them, how many? And it's out of 23, I started 7, which is a little less than a third. So I think what I would like to do going forward is to start at least half of the patterns I buy in a year in that year. And for my starts for this year, I want to have at least half of them be patterns from Stash that I bought previous to this year. And I think that for me, that's a reasonable goal, intention for the year. And speaking of how to do this in a less expensive way, so going down the list, floss. I use all DMC. I get all of it at Michaels. I always use at least a 20% coupon. So their floss is sold for 62 cents. The 20% off takes it to 50 cents a skein. That's how I buy my floss. For fabric, I either buy it from Michaels or I buy from crossstitchingsupplies.com. I use all Aida, so that's easier to do. I will link them below. They have great prices on fabric. Patterns, I get the vast majority of them from Etsy. I usually buy them when they are on sale. And then finishing, like I said, for me, I mostly finish in frames that I get from Michaels. I will always wait until they have a sale on frames and buy them then. So that is how I economically do this hobby. For me, that came out to a total of $347.65 for the 3/4 of the year since I was keeping track. And for me, that is within budget. For some people, their budgets are smaller. For some people, they are larger. That is fine as long as you can comfortably buy within whatever your budget is. I think it can be easy to give the impression that this is an expensive hobby when it does not need to be. You can make beautiful projects and not spend a lot of money. You know, we all enjoy cross stitch and would want as many people as who are interested to enjoy cross stitch, and showing the ways that it can be accessible. Yeah, I think that's valuable. So, yeah, I think it would be a good idea for people to. I mean, I'm not expecting anyone else to share their exact numbers of how much they spent on cross stitch. Like, you do what you are comfortable with. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with talking about it. Whether your budget was smaller or bigger than mine, there's nothing wrong with talking about it. So let's get back to the stitching. I think I'm going to start where I left off last night, going again with Sunday afternoon, working more in my full coverage.
So before I get started back on this project, this is my starting point for the morning. I'm now at a total of 8 hours and 18 minutes. I've finished the umbrella and the back half of the top of the dress, so I'm going to switch to another project. I think back to Summer Band Sampler. But before that, let's talk colors. So the hat here is charted in black, which I might do, but like this hat is also black, and I don't know if that, since they're overlapping each other, if that would look weird. I thought maybe a dark gray, but I don't want to do this dark gray because I don't want it to look like she matched her hat to his coat. Like, I just think that's weird. So maybe just a different gray. I don't know. And then for the arm down here, there's like a row or two of like shading on the skin, but it's charted with like this skin color of the guy's skin color, and I just feel like that's like, comparing these, I just feel like that's a big difference. So I'm maybe gonna try and find an in-between. That's what I'm thinking for this one, but I'll come back to it maybe later today. Okay, so I am back to Summer Band Sampler. I'm going to finish it. I've got 3 more shells to put in, and then some of these have backstitch on them. So I'm about to be finished. Ta-da! My first finish of the weekend. I am at 9 hours, 51 minutes total. It's all done. Summer Band Sampler by Tiny Modernist, an 18 count vintage country mocha. Alright, so it's actually Sunday now. I decided to just take the rest of Saturday off of stitching and just kind of relax. I will probably be off camera today as the rash I have on my chest is bothering me. I'm like switching between like 3 different ointments, and I'm a week into it. Hopefully it doesn't take terribly longer to actually heal. But anyway, you're here for the stitching. So I am back to this project. I haven't yet decided on what I'm going to do for the colors for the skin and the hat, so I'm just going to work on the top of the dress and then some of the details on the bottom, and check in with you later. Isa and I have been doing very well. I'm going to use this as a check-in point because I'm now at my official goal of 12 hours and 6 minutes. I am going to keep working on this on the lower half of the skirt. I think I might, I think I might switch colors, but I may do a little bit more, fill in a little more with this one, and then switch colors. I'm now at 13:26, and I'm going to take a quick break and then change things up a bit and work on getting caught up on my temperature supernova, which is going to look like this. I'm now at 14:20, and I am caught up on my temperature sale. I have the first 4 weeks of January. I am wondering, with the colors I've chosen, because some of them are dark colors, and on like a black background, I mean, I don't know, I just happen to have some of the darker shades in January. So we'll see how the rest of it looks, but I'm still enjoying it. Okay, back to my full coverage again. I'm going to work on this probably a little bit more, and then I'll probably be in the mood for something else. So I worked on this longer than I thought I would.
And my final time for the weekend is 18 hours and 47 minutes, which I am very impressed with. I did a lot of stitching today, a lot more than I thought I would. So that has been a lot of fun. This is where I'm ending on this project for today. I'm quite pleased with it. So I will do a wrap up tomorrow, and that'll be it. Thanks for joining me. All right, so the 24 hours of cross stitch marathon is now finished. So let's wrap up my progress. First of all, obviously I did not work on, upside down, Neverland. This is by Magic Stitching. It's on a 16 count lock by Picture This Plus, but it looks the same as it did before. I can show you a closer up image. It's missing the rest of these trees and then Indigenous Village, which I am changing what it originally said. And I think that's all that's left on this one. Next up is my wonderful finish of Summer Band Sampler by Tiny Modernist. This one, as you can see in the picture next to it, was just missing this top corner and then this bottom row, but it is now completed. And this one, as you will see, unfortunately covered in cat hair, is my 2023 temperature sale. This is Temperature Supernova. This one is designed by Climbing Goat Designs. And see, in this more like natural light, you can see more of the darker colors. So I'm not too worried about it. But yeah, that's where I am on this one. So caught up through the 28th. And then, of course, we have a Sunday afternoon. This one is designed by Allerton Embroidery. Right now, I'm showing where I started for the weekend. And here is where I ended up. So working on the lady in the dress, umbrella, top part of the dress, bottom part of the dress. So I am very pleased with all of my progress for this weekend, and I'm excited to participate again in the spring.